What happens when your own son asks if you've looked into retirement options in your own living room? Stick around. It gets worse. Let me know in the comments, which city or country are you watching this from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell if this story grabs your heart. I always start my mornings with Earl Grey and a clean kitchen towel. Not much else brings me peace since Harold passed. The towel, soft and warm from the dryer, folds just the way he used to do it. And the tea, well, I pretend it still tastes better when shared. That Thursday felt like any other, until my son David showed up unannounced, with Allison. She didn't even knock. She just let herself in, like she'd already decided this place was hers. David followed, quiet as usual, his eyes darting like a boy caught sneaking cookies. I should have known something was wrong right then. Allison never visits without an agenda, and that agenda usually involves my home, my money, or both. "Mom," she began, plopping her designer purse on Harold's favorite chair. "Have you ever thought about downsizing?" "I beg your pardon?" David coughed into his sleeve. "She means maybe it's time you consider a retirement community. You know, for convenience, safety." "Safety? In this house? The same one where I raised him? Where I still know every floorboard that creaks?" I set down my teacup. "So you're suggesting I leave my home and go where exactly?" Allison crossed her legs. "There's this beautiful facility just outside town. Pool, meals, nurses. Honestly, most women your age would kill for a spot." I felt my heart thump. Not from fear, but from fury. "And you two have already visited this place." David shifted. "We just thought it'd be good to look. I mean, the market's hot. If we list now, we could get a great deal. Maybe finally fix that deck at our place." There it was. We. Not you, not Mom, just we. As if my home, the one I paid off with 2 jobs and 40 years of missed vacations, was already theirs. "I see," I said quietly. "And what would I be bringing to this beautiful facility? My grandmother's quilt? My piano? Or should I leave all that behind too?" Allison raised her eyebrow. "Honestly, those things might not fit, but they have recreation rooms." David looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. They didn't say it directly, but it was written all over their faces. They wanted me gone, out of the way, out of their house. Only, bless their greedy little hearts, they forgot one tiny detail. The deed to this house still sits in a fireproof box in my bedroom. And guess whose name is the only one on it? Next chapter will change everything. But believe me, this is just the first crack in the facade. They think they've planned it all. But I've got time, tea, and receipts. They thought I'd just go quietly. As if a woman who'd buried a husband, raised a child, and run a business during the Reagan years was going to be carted off like an unwanted suitcase. No thank you. That night, after they left, without even offering to wash their coffee cups, I did what any woman with a pulse and a full sense of justice would do. I opened the box. The fireproof one. It's not fancy, just a gray metal thing Harold picked up from a yard sale in '94. He always said, "Keep the paper safe. People forget papers talk louder than mouths." He was right. Inside were all the usual suspects: my birth certificate, the deed to the house, yes, still in my name, Harold's will, our wedding photo folded flat like a memory you carry in your shoe, and something new I'd added just 2 months ago. A flash drive. You see, I've been hearing whispers. Neighbors, old friends, even the woman from church with the generous chin. They told me things, small, ugly truths about David and Allison, how they were asking around about selling houses, mine in particular. So, I started recording things. Phone calls, conversations, even that day when Allison asked about the alarm code, just in case something happens. I knew what they were planning long before they did. The next day, I invited David over. Just him. He showed up with a box of donuts, like we were celebrating something. I didn't touch them. Instead, I slid the flash drive across the table. "Press play," I said. He hesitated. Then he heard his own voice. "Once we get the place listed, she'll have no choice. They don't let you leave those facilities easily, right?" His hands shook. I watched him try to smile. "You recorded me?" "I recorded the moment. I stopped being your mother and started being your next target." He turned red. "It's not like that, Mom. Allison just thought." "No, you thought. And you forgot that this house was never a gift. It was earned." He sat there, speechless, chewing on guilt and sugar. "I've updated the will," I told him, "and I've contacted the lawyer. From now on, if anything happens to me, this house goes to the women's shelter in town. Not you. Not Allison." He blinked. "You're kidding." "I was once. Not anymore." That was the moment the game changed. But believe me, they weren't done. Not even close. Next chapter, you'll see what they tried next and how I made it all public. Don't miss it. I should have known Allison wouldn't take no from a woman who still called her that girl David married. Barely 2 days after our little talk over donuts and data, the phone rang. It was a realtor. "Miss Lawson, this is Cynthia Markson from Green Valley Realty. Your son and daughter-in-law said you were preparing to sell your home and wanted a preliminary valuation." "Excuse me?" I nearly dropped my teacup again. "I beg your pardon," I said, keeping my voice steady, that church gathering kind of steady when you want to slap someone but the Lord is watching. "Oh," the woman replied, clearly flustered. "They said you'd be out of town soon and wanted to make sure the property was prepped in time." I smiled, not politely. "Well, Cynthia," I said, "if you'd like a proper valuation, I suggest you come by. I'll be here. I always am. Unlike my son, I don't disappear when things get difficult." That shut her up. 5 hours later, a silver Lexus with branded magnets rolled up to my curb. I stood on the porch, apron on, hair pinned, looking like the picture of stability, the kind of woman you don't try to steal a house from. Cynthia was polite, but I saw the flicker of embarrassment when she realized what was going on. "I'm terribly sorry," she said, shifting in her heels. "I had no idea they hadn't consulted you directly." "Oh, they consulted," I said sweetly, "just not me." She scanned the living room. "May I ask, is the property in your name?" I nearly laughed. "Would you like to see the deed? I framed it after they suggested I be more open to change." That night I waited, and just as expected, David called. Oh no, not to apologize, to accuse. "How could you embarrass us like that?" he hissed through the phone. "Embarrass you?" I said. "David, you tried to sell a house you don't own and remove me from it like I'm expired milk?" He was silent. Then the real truth came out.
Allison's mother said we need a down payment by July. That place near the golf course won't hold forever. There it was. This wasn't about safety. This wasn't about retirement. This was about a view and a country club driveway. I see, I said, and then I hung up. But let me tell you, nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what they pulled next. In the next chapter, I get a knock at the door. Not a call, not a message, a formal notice. You won't believe what it said.
It came on a Saturday. Of course it did. They always pull things on weekends when people are either out of town or too tired to ask questions. I was slicing a peach for cobbler when I heard the knock. Not the friendly kind, no rhythm, no pause, just 3 hard, flat pounds. I wiped my hands on my apron, opened the door, and there he stood, a man in khaki slacks and mirrored sunglasses, holding a clipboard like it was a badge. "Ma'am," he said, "are you Mrs. Judith Lawson?" "I am." He handed me a stack of papers. "You've been served." Served? I took the envelope. "Excuse me, served what exactly?" "Notice of mental health evaluation, court request, family initiated." Then he walked away. Just like that. Didn't even wait to see if I understood what he'd said. I closed the door in slow motion. My fingers were shaking, not from fear, from rage. A court-ordered psychiatric evaluation? That boy I breastfed just tried to label his mother incompetent. The goal was crystal clear. Get me declared mentally unfit, force me out legally, take the house. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. I sat down at the kitchen table, same spot where Harold and I used to pay bills and eat Sunday breakfast, and read every word of that document. Guess what it said? David claimed I was displaying signs of paranoia, obsessed with ownership documents, and unable to maintain basic hygiene. I looked around my spotless kitchen, the garden out back, my polished silverware, the laundry, folded to perfection. Basic hygiene? If this was madness, then call me the queen of crazy. I didn't cry. Instead, I opened my laptop and sent a short, calm email to my lawyer. Subject line, "Let's begin." Then I called the local paper. You heard me. If they wanted to drag me through the mud, I'd make damn sure they did it in front of the entire town and that everyone saw their fingerprints all over it. Hearing was set for the following Friday. Just 5 business days to prove I wasn't crazy. That gave me time. Not much, but enough. My lawyer, Mr. Briggs, 71, still drives a stick shift and eats bacon with a fork. Didn't flinch once. "They're trying the old mental decline route," he said, thumbing through the documents. "Seen it before. Usually backfires." "I don't want them jailed," I said. "Just exposed." He grinned. "Then let's put on a little show." By Friday morning, I was dressed to the nines. Queen blazer, matching pants, my wedding pearls, and a stack of very important folders in a leather bag. When we entered the courthouse, Allison smirked. She had on a fitted black dress, probably trying to look like grieving family. David didn't meet my eyes. The judge was a middle-aged woman with steel gray hair and not a lot of patience. "All right," she said, "we're here to assess whether Mrs. Lawson is fit to manage her property and personal affairs." I stood. "With your permission, Your Honor, I'd like to speak before the medical examiner enters." She nodded.
I reached into my bag, pulled out 3 things: a notarized copy of the property deed in my name only, a flash drive labeled Conversation March 8th, and a printed email chain between Allison and their realtor. Then I spoke, calmly, clearly, not a single tremble. In the past month, my son and daughter-in-law have attempted to pressure me into a nursing home, not for my safety, but for control of my property. I have audio of them discussing the plan, written evidence of intent to sell my house, and, most importantly, I'm here, standing, speaking, and fully aware of my rights. The room went quiet. David whispered something to Allison. She turned white. Mr. Briggs handed the flash drive to the clerk. I also brought my medical checkup 2 weeks ago. Clean bill of health, mentally and physically. The judge leaned back, reading. Then she looked up at David. Mr. Lawson, is it true you scheduled a home valuation without your mother's consent? His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Allison jumped in. She's twisting it. She's been acting strange. She has a 780 credit score and files taxes early. If that's strange, I hope I'm next. The courtroom chuckled. The judge tapped her pen. Petition denied. Mrs. Lawson remains in full control of her affairs. I strongly suggest the petitioners reconsider their behavior moving forward. She slammed the gavel. I didn't cry, but Lord, I wanted to. Outside, David tried to catch up with me. Mom, we didn't mean. I turned and said calmly, I loved you more than my own comfort, but I won't love you more than my dignity. And then I got in my car and drove myself home. You think that's the end? Not quite. There was still one final card to play, and it involved the entire town. There's something dangerous about a woman with nothing left to lose, especially if she knows how to use Facebook. That Sunday morning, I brewed my usual Earl Grey, turned on the radio, and typed. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't scared. I was ready. Here's what I posted. To the community I've lived in for over 40 years, my son and his wife recently tried to have me declared mentally unfit in order to take ownership of my home, the very house I bought, maintained, and raised him in. When that failed in court, and it did, I realized something deeper had broken, not just trust, but the illusion that love always protects. If you're reading this and caring for aging parents, I beg you, talk with them, not about them. Because what happened to me can happen to anyone, and silence only protects the wrong people. Then I hit post, and Lord have mercy, I didn't expect what happened next. Within 2 hours, the post had over 1,500 shares. By dinner time, local news had emailed me. Would you be open to an interview, Mrs. Lawson? You bet I would. People from church texted. My old bridge partner dropped off pie and said, You're a damn hero. Even the young couple down the street, the ones who never make eye contact, offered to mow my lawn for free. I didn't want pity, but I did want the truth out. And it was. All of it. David tried to call. I didn't answer. Allison left a voice message. You humiliated us. How could you make this public? Sweetheart, you humiliated yourselves. I just handed you the mirror. By the end of the week, David was asked to step down from his HOA board. Allison's real estate license went under review. I didn't plan it that way. I just told the truth. And sometimes, the truth ruins the right people. But even after the storm passes, what do you do with a broken heart and an empty seat at Thanksgiving? It had been 3 weeks since the court hearing, 2 weeks since the post. and just 1 week since I had turned down every phone call with their names attached. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was tired. Grief is funny like that. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And it shows up not in your tears, but in the quiet moments. Folding laundry, washing a dish, opening the front door to find nobody there. Except this time, someone was. It was raining lightly, just enough to bring out the smell of wet leaves. I opened the door, and there stood Susan. Susan from the flower shop. Susan who knew me before David was born. Susan who buried 2 husbands and still sings in the church choir. She didn't say anything at first, just opened her arms. We sat in the living room with warm banana bread between us and tea that went cold fast because neither of us stopped talking. She told me I wasn't alone. Told me that people talk, but more people listen. Told me how 3 other women had come to her shop last week asking, "You know that lady who posted about her son?" Turns out I wasn't the only one who'd been pushed, prodded, or quietly erased. "I think," Susan said, "you started something, not just for you, for all of us." I smiled, for real this time. That night, I sat at my desk and took out my old planner. Not digital, the paper kind with ink smudges and grocery lists written sideways. I made a list, not of chores, not of bills, but of people I wanted to write to. Letters, not texts, not emails, handwritten, signed, sealed. My old neighbor in Florida, the cousin I lost touch with after Harold passed, my goddaughter now 32 and afraid of turning into her own mother. I had things to say. At 9:42 p.m., the phone rang. The screen said, "David." I let it ring. 5, 6, 7 times. Then I pressed decline. Because forgiveness doesn't mean opening the door right away. Sometimes it just means not hating someone while you heal without them.
It started with a letter, a real one, with a stamp, an envelope, and shaky handwriting that told me everything before I even opened it. "Judith, I don't know if you remember me." Of course I did. Maggie Lawrence, my niece, daughter of my late sister Rose, who I hadn't spoken to since the funeral back in '08. We had grown apart, not for malice, just life. She moved west, I stayed here. And when the phone calls dried up, I thought she'd forgotten. Turns out she hadn't. Her letter was short, awkward, but honest. "I saw your story. Someone shared the Facebook post, and I recognized your handwriting in the photo of the deed. I still remember how you taught me cursive. I'm sorry for what they did. I don't know if this is overstepping, but would you ever consider visiting us in Oregon? We have a guest room and a big yard. I make terrible coffee, but my wife bakes pies that might compete with yours. No pressure. Just, you're not alone." I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not the sharp, ugly cry, the kind that starts in your chest and rolls out soft and warm, like exhaling for the first time in months. I waited a week, not because I didn't want to respond, but because I wanted to do it right. I mailed her back with my best stationery, wrote in pen, told her how much I missed her, how proud I was, and that I would be thrilled to visit. That same evening, she called. We talked for 2 hours.
laughed about Rose's meatloaf disasters, her dad's hopeless attempts at gardening, and the time Maggie spilled crepe soda on Harold's chessboard. And then she said something that hit me like a song lyric I forgot I loved. "You were always the woman I wanted to grow up to be." After we hung up, I sat on the porch with a blanket and a cup of tea. The house was still mine. The past was still real. But suddenly, the future didn't feel so empty. But before I could pack a suitcase or book a flight, something unexpected landed in my mailbox. Again.
It arrived on a Wednesday, just like the first one. Same plain envelope, no return address. Only this time, the handwriting wasn't shaky. It was his, David. I stared at it for a while, didn't open it right away. I finished my tea, fed the cat, folded 2 towels. Then, finally, I sat at the table and opened the envelope, as if peeling back the last scab of something that never healed clean. There was no apology at the top, just 4 words. I read the post. The rest of the letter, 4 full pages, rambled like a man trying to rebuild something from memory. He said he was angry, said Allison had pushed him, yes, but that he let her. Said he felt cornered, stuck, ashamed and jealous of the independence I still had. And then he wrote this. Quote, "You always taught me to stand up for what's right. I don't know when I stopped listening. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't think I deserve it yet. But if you ever feel like picking up the phone, I'll be here. And I'll be listening this time." End quote. I didn't cry. Not this time. I folded the letter, placed it in the drawer with Harold's things, and walked outside. The sun was gentle that day, the kind that doesn't demand anything from you. I looked out at my front porch, that same porch where I had once been served a notice. That same porch where I stood tall in pearls and told the truth. That same porch where life didn't end, it restarted. I haven't called David yet. I might, but not today. Today, I'm packing for Oregon. Maggie sent me a list of pie flavors to choose from. I picked lemon meringue, Harold's favorite. And as I zipped my suitcase closed, I realized something simple, something firm, something honest. This house is mine, but my peace, that's something I take with me. Thank you for being with me through this story. If you've ever felt invisible, pushed aside, or underestimated, remember, you are not alone, and your voice matters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching this story from?